Grab a cup of coffee, tea, wine, whatever it is, because today we're gonna sit, sip, and chat. This is an unfiltered conversation about things I wish I knew before starting a new job. If you're new around here, my name is Emilia, but you can call me Emmy. And my life mission is to help others, including you, to fulfill your boundless potential and become who you want to be, no matter your circumstances and no matter your background. So today I want to share with you things I wish I knew before accepting a job offer. I wish that I've had my personal and career priorities straight. Many times I've accepted jobs due to the title and the prestige that it got me. And you know what? I ended up hating it because either the corporate culture wasn't what I expected, or because I had a bad manager, or the company benefits didn't support my lifestyle. Some roles that I've taken in the past were absolutely not compatible with my lifestyle. For instance, when I was working at Amazon as a graduate area manager, this implied working in a warehouse and managing hundreds of people, which I was absolutely excited about. At this time, I really wanted a change from my fashion background. I wanted something outside of my comfort zone. So just to give you some context, I was in Paris. I had plenty of internships in the fashion industry, but I decided I was completely ready for a new challenge. So I moved to the UK for this job with Amazon. But I was young and misinformed, and I really didn't know that when I accepted this offer that I'll be working on shifts, especially on the night shift. My working day would start at, for instance, 5 p.m. and ending the next day at 5 a.m. And on top of that, the commute wasn't ideal either because the warehouse was in the suburbs of London and not right in London. So it took me around 1 hour to get there. I didn't know as well, but the only way of getting to the warehouse was by taking a very expensive train. Yeah, and I had to take it on an ongoing basis until I started carpooling with some really nice colleagues. Unfortunately, at this time, I didn't have a personal life, and with a schedule like this, it was really difficult to have a life outside of work. It was so difficult to meet up with my friends or even making new friends when I was new in town. And I was young, I really wanted to make new friends and enjoy what London was all about. This is well very challenging to me because I'm an early bird and normally I'm up and running at 5 a.m. and I'm really not ashamed to say that. Sometimes I'm asleep by 9 p.m. if not earlier. And unfortunately, at the start of this job, I've had times that I completely saw myself passing out at work, and I do remember I would faint. Our bodies are just not programmed to work in this way. Our bodies are not programmed to be awake when we're supposed to be asleep. And honestly, a really big shout out to people that work on night shifts because it really isn't easy. Sorry guys, but I need to get warm. One of my top core values is health and wellness. And honestly, with a schedule like this, it was so difficult to achieve my fitness goals or even to work out. I didn't know this at the time, but night shift work increases the risk of developing diabetes, heart diseases, and obesity. And also, I do remember that when I was doing my research before taking in this role, I spoke with some people that were working as graduate area managers, and it said that this role wasn't for everyone. I didn't understand this at a time, but I did understand soon enough that it wasn't for me. If I would known better, I would have got more informed about the commute, the location, the benefits. This wasn't the case for me, but some companies do offer public transport discounts, company car, gym access, between others. So yeah, it comes as no surprise that I did struggle in that role. In one of my previous videos, I did mention core values and I identified mine. And honestly, when I did this exercise, I realized that I've felt for a really long time that something was missing or something was wrong with me. But the truth is that I was living my life without being true to myself. I was living a life misaligned from my values. And yeah, I just kept chasing opportunities to please other people, like my parents, my friends, my university colleagues. Because I felt that by having a certain role or working at a certain company, it was what was expected of me. Let me know, can you relate to this? Knowing your values, it's so important, especially because our values guide our decisions about everything from our career to personal growth. And before you take your next job, and I'll do the same, take time to reflect about your core values and review, does this company align to your core values? Is it gonna enable you to move forward in your life and your career, but in the right direction for you? And another thing I wish I had known before starting a new job is, who is my manager? Knowing the manager and knowing the team you're going to work with is so important as well. In my work experience, I've had managers that were so inspiring. And honestly, people I did really enjoy working with. And I'll do anything for them within the acceptable. But I've had managers who honestly were so disrespectful and awful to work with and made me question every day, am I doing here? They're poor communicators, love to micromanage, and took credit of every project I develop. And the list goes on. If you have had a bad manager, this is not a reflection of your work or a reflection of who you are. Toxic and bad managers are often insecure and non-confident people. They're unconfident people. And they need to sort their things out. And of course, it is difficult to know who your manager and how your colleague's gonna be when you start a new job. There are things you can ask during your interview so that you don't walk into your next opportunity blindfolded. On your interview, ask specifically, who is your manager going to be? And trust me, I've had occasions that I started a new job without knowing who my manager was gonna be. And this can happen for different reasons. Either they're on sick leave while you're interviewing, they're on holiday during the recruitment process, or you're gonna work for such a big corporation that they haven't assigned your manager until the moment you actually get started in the job. But if you get a chance, get to know in advance who your manager is gonna be so you can do plenty of stalking on LinkedIn and have a feeling of how it's their personality online. What is their career path? What is their accomplishments? And on interviews with the manager, I ask them, how is your management style? How would you describe yourself as a communicator? What do your other direct reports say about you? How do you describe yourself as a manager, as a leader? How would your colleagues describe you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the strengths of the person that was previously in this role? Why are they leaving? What was missing in their skill set? What are their greatest qualities? How do you see us working together? How would you describe that relationship? Make sure that you analyze this manager and check if they have signs of emotional intelligence. It is so important to have a manager that understands the personal and professional needs of their team. And they will only do it if they actually have emotional intelligence. And if you have seen any red flags while interacting with them, do not ignore it. Especially if they badmouth the person that was previously in this role. If they do, you are going to know this is not a place for you to be. And check if during the interview they're listening to your answers without inappropriately interrupting you. Did they ask thoughtful follow-up questions? And you're never gonna believe this, but I once had someone laughing at me on an interview. Not laughing with me, laughing at me. Yeah, and let's move on. During your interview, always ask questions related to the corporate culture. And by asking these questions, you avoid walking blindfolded to your next job opportunity. And go to the office. You need to know what it's like to be there. You need to get a feel of their office vibe. And if you can see yourself working there. It is true that now most interviews, they happen online, as recruiters and hiring managers, they want to squeeze in as much as they can on their schedule. But you need to go to the office before you say yes to this opportunity. And you need to know, can you envision yourself working there and working with these people? A friend of mine, she started a new job. She walked into her new office on day one. At the end of the day, she was returning everything, her computer, and terminating her contract. And the reason was she did all the interviews online. She was super excited. It sounded like a dream while she was online interviewing. But when she walked into the office, she really didn't like the atmosphere. She didn't vibe with the people. And yeah, it wasn't for her. Everything could be avoided only if she had done these interviews in person, or if she had gone to the office before signing the contract just to meet the manager and the team. And honestly, don't be shy. It is your personal life and your career that are at stake here. So when you have those interviews, ask the questions, go to the office, check what the culture is like, because you don't want to end up going to a toxic work environment, work with a bad manager, or have a job that you actually don't enjoy. And guys, I've been doing so much research around mental health and around unsupportive working places, and you don't want to be there. I once had this job that gave me so much anxiety. I wasn't sleeping at night. The amount of energy that it required for me to continuously show up at this workplace and still maintain a positive attitude, a smile on my face, when I really didn't feel like it, but I still had to go be professional and do my job. It was exhausting. I thought this was my dream job when I accepted it, but it really soon became a nightmare. Work environments, they have such an impact on your well-being, on your performance, on your progression, and also they have an impact on your personal life. So yeah, ask as many questions as you can during the interview. Check the job description carefully. Read online about the people and the company you're going to be working for, and make sure that this job is right for you and for your career. Regarding your career priorities, it is so important to reflect. What is the bigger picture? Are you clear with who you want to be in this life? What do you want to do with your career? I know these are difficult questions, but you need to ask yourself and be honest with yourself. And you might not know the answers to this right now, and that's okay. I didn't know for a really long time. It just means that you need to take time to reflect. You need to take time to evaluate if this job is supporting your goals. Is it aligned to your values, or is it distracting you from them? And also, career progression is very important and something to consider before accepting a job offer. Just to give you another story, I once had this experience that I applied for a role, but they are having a promotion freeze, which meant that if I had taken that role, I wouldn't be promoted for the next 2 years. But they were really kind enough to get back to me and said, we have decided not to move forward with our application. I demonstrated that I'm very ambitious and focused on progression. So very unfortunately, these were things they weren't able to offer me due to their promotion freeze. And honestly, they couldn't afford to have someone coming in to get them motivated because there is no possibility of progression internally. And having someone quitting shortly because of these reasons, which is fair. You might want to have a look into what does career progression look like for your next role or even this current role. How does career progression look like at the company you are at right now or you want to move to? A good way to have a feeling about these things is by reaching out to people on LinkedIn, people that are working on the team you'd like to work for, or they're working at the company you'd love to work for. And yeah, get a sense check of what is the culture, the work environment, what does progression look like. Also check the company's reputation, what is being said about them on the news and by previous employees on Glassdoor. Guys, make sure you ask the right questions and you do your research before you accept your next job offer. I really hope that my experience will help you reflect on making the right decision for you and for your career.